Hello, trainee. This is MRO Supplies. This is a product training video. I am Matthew Menashe. I work in MDB Los Angeles, and this is Carmen.
Hello, my name is Carmen, and I'm the office manager here in Mexico, the MRO Mexico office.
Here we are in the lovely but hot and humid mosquito-filled area of Merida, Mexico. And either you're down here, or you're up with me, or you're somewhere else in the future when we make another place. Today, I'm going to go over a part. This is a electric motor. This is I would say at the time of filming this video, this accounts for the majority of our sales, both in numbers and in quantity. This is a somewhat typical electric motor in terms of its characteristics, but they vary a great deal. In your life, you'll probably use a motor almost every day if you live in a city. Motors move escalators up, they move little elevator carts up some places. They move, in our industry, they move typically a conveyor belt across. What happens is, there's this thing here, this is called the shaft. Right here, this little winding thing here. And this little device turns this thing at a certain speed. So, in terms of an escalator, this goes onto a bearing and then a conveyor belt, and that turns it and moves the thing up. And that's the whole point of this thing is that to turn the shaft. That's the primary function of an electric motor. This one's a little bit smaller than the average motor we sell, but it's not the smallest. It's on the range of average motors outside of the abnormal ones. They usually start from a little smaller than this, probably to about maybe 3 or 4 times this. This one's about 1/3. This is a 1/3 horsepower motor, and the biggest we normally sell is about 10 or 20 horsepower, which again will be impossible for me to put on my lap without a lot of pain. This is a little heavy. It's about 22, 25 pounds, I would say, or 10 kilos. I'll go into some of the characteristics of this motor. So again, this is the shaft. Sometimes customers might ask what the shaft size is. On almost every product in the product detail page, either shows the actual shaft size as a listed specification, or there is a PDF where it'll show a diagram and it'll have a measurement there. So that's something customers might ask. I'll get back into it a little bit later about what customers ask and that sort of thing, and how you can point them to the right information. This is a enclosure. Right here, this is a TEFC. This is one of the more common ones. TEFC and ODP are the two most common types of motors we sell. TEFC is totally enclosed, fan cooled, so it's covered here. Then there's a little fan in here that cools it down. ODP is open drip proof. It's open. It doesn't have a covered fan in there. A couple other parts of it here. This is the mounting. It's a foot mount. That's talking about these things, little feet. That's what hooks it up, or that's where it rests on, and then you mount it by putting your screws or whatever it is, or your bolts through here. This here is the nameplate. This is the part that describes all the information to the motor. So if a customer is calling you about and they say they want to replace a motor, they're trying to find a motor, you ask them what the part number is. And if they don't know it, you say, well, do you have the nameplate? Because it should say on almost every nameplate the part number. Also, it usually lists most of the specifications of the motor. This here is the box, the terminal box. This is where a lot of the capacitors and whatnot that sort of help regulate the power to the motor are in here. And then there's also the enclosure. So the frame size is, the outside part is the frame, the inside part is the enclosure. That's the thing that covers the actual inside part of the motor. Frame size is another characteristic they go over. Let's see here. So this is the face. This part here, there's different variations of how this thing comes out. Sometimes the most common one is a C face, and I'll put up on the screen here some more pictures of the other types right now, and some of the other foot mounts right now. Blah 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 blah. Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse. There's the screen. We show them that tomorrow on the screen. Some other ones on there. Good. Okay. Horsepower, RPM, AC/DC. You want to do that, or you want to do it?
I can try.
We're on camera. We're on camera.
I can try.
Okay. Horsepower.
Yeah.
Here, Carmen will talk for a minute. Let's see her try the horsepower.
Okay, so The output power that the motor can offer, it's what we call the horsepower. It's basically the force that the motor can offer. If you have a very big item and you want to move it, you probably need a lot more force to start the movement. Okay, so that's the output power.
Horsepower. Yeah.
Horsepower. Okay. The RPMs is basically revolutions per minute, so it's basically the speed this is going to be rotating. The shaft is going to rotate 1800 times per minute or 3600 times per minute, depending on what the RPM number is. The motors can be AC or DC. AC stands for alternate current, and DC stands for direct current. So basically that's the type of energy this is going to be connected to.
Go over single phase and three phase.
The motors can be either single phased or three phased.
Mosquitoes, hang on.
But what is that?
Okay, well, in most commercial applications or as a factory, they're going to want three-phase power. The vast majority of homes do not have three-phase power. Three-phase power is more efficient. It's generally more efficient and more cheap, I believe, almost in all cases. Single-phase power is more for the homeowner who wants to plug a motor into his wall or something like that. So that's the difference between single-phase and three-phase. Is there anything else we need to cover there, essentially? Yeah, we kind of already got all the frames and whatnot. Okay. All right, let's talk a little about brands and applications. So, one of the most common brands that we currently sell are Baldor, Leeson, WEG, and is there anything else?
Marathon.
And Marathon. Baldor and Leeson are the two biggest motor companies in the world, and their roots actually trace back to the same guy a long time ago, but they're two separate companies now. The Baldor line is part of the ABB group. You might see some other products like Dodge, which are also owned by the same conglomerate. And Baldor has about 26 shipping locations in the U.S. And I would say it's the standard motor. In terms of quality, it's very good. Price, it's not the cheapest, but it can be competitive. It sells a lot because it has a very strong value and still an attractive price. Leeson is a sort of a runner-up to Baldor in some cases. They sell a lot. There's a lot of times where Leeson may be a little bit cheaper than Baldor. They're both, I would say, of comparable quality, but Baldor tends to have a little bit of a better name to it. They have about 20 warehouses they ship out of in the U.S., and they're a good company as well. A lot of times when we cross over, which means we exchange one brand for another for the same part, we can cross Baldor to Leeson quite often. So those are the two big ones we have up there. WEG is also a nice brand. I see in the TV, here's some pictures of WEG. WEG is a Brazilian company, but they still have a very strong foothold in the U.S. and around the world. They're made in Brazil, so they tend to do a little bit better in humid environments. They also might have some motors that the other two can't offer. And in terms of the big companies, almost everybody has may have some motors that just don't cross into other brands. So everyone has their. Baldor has about, I believe, 7,000 motors. Leeson has, I believe, around 10,000 variations, and WEG has around 6,000 variations, as far as I know. Let's see out there. They are all considered. Well, you would consider Baldor and Leeson domestic. WEG, I'm not sure if you'd consider that an import. When we call it domestic and import, when you say import, we're usually talking about a cheaper Chinese or Asian-made motor that doesn't have the same recognition of quality, but it has a very good price. Sometimes there's a customer might have a use where he hardly uses the motor, or it's not that important that the thing holds up under extreme conditions, or the guy's just trying to save some money and he wants to just try and make it work. In those cases, he might go for an import brand. When it's something where he needs good quality and he needs to rely on the motor, and having a motor that costs $1,000 down just for an hour may cost him tens or even $100,000 a day. He's going to want to go for the good quality one. So sometimes price isn't always for the motor isn't always the best thing for the customer. Another thing is efficiency. A lot of the Baldor motors and other ones are made specific to be very efficient with power. So while the price might be high initially, over time, the customer ends up getting his money back, and then the motor ends up becoming cheaper and eventually paying for itself in the more by the efficiency of the motor in terms of its electric use versus the more expensive import brand. And most of the time, customers know this when they're calling us. Most of our customers are somewhat knowledgeable about the industry, and because either they're a mechanic, they're an engineer, or they're a buyer and they've kind of already learned these things through. It's usually the end user who's buying something for his first time that has no idea and may run into some problems later. Let's see what else there is here. I'm not going to go over this. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the competitors we have. There's a lot of manufacturers for motors. There's a lot of customers for motors. Therefore, there's a lot of competition for motors. If you get a quote over $2,000, at least at the time of the video, that is the quoting amount. You're probably told again another time what that amount is. You would go send it off to the quotes team. There's usually a lot of competition when it comes to quoting a motor, but again, it's the number one thing that we sell also. So let's get that going. Oh, sorry, David, I'm reading your text or your Skypes. Let's see here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how a motor works in a very basic sense. You want me to do this one? Or you want to do it?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm learning.
Okay, so generally, if you've ever had two magnets, playing with magnets as a kid, they either stick together or they push apart. And what happens here, what a motor does is, in here, there is a lot of pieces of metal that are magnetically charged, and it goes from being charged positively to negatively. So you have something here. Sorry, mosquito killing here. You have something here that will have a magnetic charge, and you have something in here that turns on that. So it goes from positive, and then it turns, and it goes positive here, and it goes negative here. So essentially, it's like getting a magnet that pulls it here and one that pushes away here, and it cycles on and off to turn this thing in a very rapid movement on there. So that's in a general sense of how the motor works. Let's see here. Here's an application that uses a motor. Again, I've kind of went over some in the video. As you can see, this is what the motor is doing. Here's another one of what a motor is doing. Here's another one what a motor is doing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see here. There's a lot of motors are designed specially for specific purposes. You might see farm duty, explosion proof, all sorts of categories up there. Here's an example of an explosion proof motor. Again, maybe it's in a hazardous environment where if this thing goes belly up, it could be a lot of trouble. So for that reason, they want to invest in an explosion proof one. There's another one, crusher duty. Here's a crusher duty motor. The purpose of this one is it has high starting torque, which means it can start very strong. It doesn't have to speed up to get there. It can start at a very thing, and that might be for maybe crushing a rock where it needs to go from 0 to a lot of force right away. And if it doesn't have that force, it's going to fail just trying to get over the edge of pushing there. So that's crusher duty. This is a stainless steel washdown motor. This is mostly again stainless steel, so it doesn't rust. It's good because you can wash the thing down every day. You don't have to worry about the water messing it up. Here's one with white paint. This one's especially useful in the food industry. So if there's any dirt on there, it's very visible because you want to maintain a nice clean environment for the food. Give me any other types of motors you can go over. Okay, yeah. Again, this is a general purpose motor. This is the most common one we sell. This one doesn't have anything really special about it, other than what maybe the manufacturer claims their motors do. High efficiency, works great in high humid environments, etc., etc. Let's see what else is here. Okay, our suppliers for motors at the time we're writing this video: Baldor. These are the locations, their shipping locations. Leeson. These are their shipping locations for Leeson. WEG, here's where they ship out of. Worldwide Electric, ship out over here. Marathon, ship out over here. Brook Compton Americas, ship out over here. Is that it? Yeah, that'd be brands. Your own camera looks sharp.
I think, no, I'm sorry. I think
Mosquitoes
tattooing
got
is
too.
listed there, but doesn't have
Oh.
any items.
Right, yeah, Tay Tongue. Okay, Tay Tongue, okay. And that's it for the practice
Tech
run. Tech Top.
Tech Top.
Okay. That's it for the practice run of the training videos. We're gonna have to go get the actual TV behind us, move inside, and
Yes,
start
and
this
get
video.
rid of the
Get rid of the
mosquitoes.
mosquitoes, gotta go.
Yeah.